Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the TriStar Sports Show. Jamie and I are here for episode 24 now of the show. We had a little absence last week. We just felt like there really wasn't enough to talk about, at least in the college football world, to be worth an episode length. Few things that have happened, I guess, since the last time we saw you guys was there was the conference championship week, which I'm sure everyone knows everything that's happened in that by now. And then Army Navy was last week. And that one was a little bit surprising. Army having probably I think it was the best year in school history, and then ending it with a loss to their biggest rival was not a good way to go for them. And they lost pretty bad in that one too.
Yeah,
I think a little bit is the triple option teams can actually do pretty well against teams that don't see it all the time. But when you also run the triple option, I think that's why Navy was prepared for that and ready to go. And nobody was
right.
probably more excited to spoil their season than Navy was. But that goes back into kind of the situation we talked about earlier this year was what would have happened if Army was to beat Notre Dame, go undefeated, and then imagine if they did that against Navy, and that wouldn't have mattered,
Right.
and they would have been gearing up to play this weekend. And that was where the whole conversation was all year long, and we were very, very close to having another nightmare situation in our hands, but we did not. So I guess, Jamie, it's time to get into the college football playoffs, isn't it?
Yes, sir. So first game we got is Indiana Notre Dame tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Gonna be on ABC. They're playing in Indiana because Notre Dame's a higher seed. So we've talked about this game briefly before we came on here. It's actually gonna be part of our parlay of the week. We both are in kind of in concurrence that we think Indiana's fraudulent and hasn't played anybody, and the one good team that they did play this year, they got whooped by. So Notre Dame might not be the best team in the world either, especially in my opinion. But I think Notre Dame is better than Indiana, and we both think that Notre Dame comes out here and wins pretty handedly.
I think it's fair to say that Kirk Signetti, the coach there, and Indiana as a whole, as a program, they had an awesome year as far as Indiana football goes. So, which is good to see. There's more teams out there, and this 12-team playoff format allows that to happen. And I do believe that they had a pretty soft schedule as far as the Big Ten goes. They didn't play most of the top dogs. They only played Ohio State, and they got exposed. But I just don't see a world where I know it's an in-state battle. I don't see a world where they travel down to South Bend and beat Notre Dame at their house. I don't think they're at that level. At least their program isn't at that level yet. Notre Dame, at least in years past, has played in big games like this. Their quarterback, Riley Leonard, has played in at least bigger games than I would say Indiana has.
Right.
Obviously, Notre Dame had a very, very disappointing loss early this season to Northern Illinois at home. But I think they've come a long way since then. We didn't really get a chance, obviously, to see them in a conference championship and assert their dominance just due to the fact that they're not in a conference to begin with. So it kind of feels like we haven't seen them play in a little bit. They handled Army pretty well. I just think they probably have a little too much for Indiana. I think they end up winning by a few scores. Maybe it's close early. But, it is an in-state battle. Crazier things have happened. Notre Dame could fall right on their face that we've seen in years past in these big games. I think I personally think they've kind of gotten past the hump a little bit after Brian Kelly's been gone. You kind of could realize that maybe it wasn't a Notre Dame issue, but more of a Brian Kelly issue when it comes to losing in the big moments, because Brian Kelly is now doing the same thing down at LSU, and Notre Dame's now in the playoffs. So I guess to be continued on that.
Still have Northern Illinois.
It still wasn't a big game. It's not like it was like a we'll find out Friday night, but I mean, obviously that loss to Illinois was bad, but in this new format, like you can afford to have that. It's not the end of the world. They didn't lose another game, and
Yeah.
if we were to rank the top 12 teams as far as like true talent, they're in the top 12, but they're not. They wouldn't be at least as high as they are in my book, as they are in the rankings, and that's another problem with the format, which we've already talked about. But yeah, I just think maybe if this game was at Indiana, maybe we'd have a different conversation if something crazy were to happen. I just think Notre Dame's ready for this. I think Marcus Freeman, their coach, is ready for the big moment, and they're going to win a playoff game. And they just better not look ahead because Georgia is awaiting them, and right now Georgia's awaiting them without a starting quarterback. And you can't get your eyes too big and start focusing on that game. You've got to take care of business right in front of you.
That's right. I agree. So, with that being said, that'll lead us into Saturday, which got 3 big games, full day slate. It'll be nice only having one game on the TV at a time, so you can give all your attention to that one game. So, first up, you got SMU in Happy Valley against Penn State. Penn State's currently favored by 8.5. I think this one's going to be closer than. I think I wouldn't be surprised if SMU covered an 8.5 point spread, but I think Penn State's going to win. I've been high on SMU all year. I know it might sound crazy. They did get yeah, I don't know.
I obviously I think Penn State's going to win this one at home.
Yeah,
SMU,
I agree.
they do have explosive playability on offense, and they've shown that from time to time. I don't think it will be enough to win this game. They could cover. I mean, 8.5 is pretty big, especially since Penn State, other than them playing against Oregon in the Big Ten championship, their offense is like good at times, but they put on an absolute clinic against Oregon with I think it was like 40 something points each in that game, or close to it.
Yeah.
But majority of the time when you turn on a Penn State game, it feels like you're watching like a 24-17, 24-10 type
Big
game.
Ten masterclass.
And I think we might be trending more towards that kind of outcome. Just the nasty weather, it's cold. SMU, this is the biggest game in program history in the last, well, at least in our lifetimes, they've never been in a game this big. I know back in the day they used to have their Pony Express or whatnot, but I just don't think they're ready for this. If they do pull this off, that's a massive stepping stone for that program because they already
It
are.
is.
They already are succeeding and getting a few transfers already. I've seen, and I don't think it would stop there if people actually saw they can be a legit contender and go win a big playoff game like that.
Hey, you give them the death penalty for paying their players, and now it's legal to pay your players. Don't be surprised whenever they get good again.
I mean, yeah, them being good also required a pretty down year for the ACC. I'll say that.
It did, yeah.
I mean, Miami fell straight on its face when it shouldn't have. Clemson still won the conference despite not being the Clemson that was beating Alabama in the championships they did. And I think their program is probably trending upward again because I've started to see that they're using the portal finally. And I don't think anyone's questioned Dabo's ability to coach. He might be a goofy guy and kind of cringy from time to time, but at the end of the day, he has multiple national championships. I mean, you could thank Trevor Lawrence or Deshaun Watson for that, but he was the one that brought him in and he coached him. So it goes hand in hand.
I had a question. Why is Clemson still ranked below SMU?
So when that happened, I was a little bit confused as well. I think it's because obviously they just beat them. However, better record for one.
Okay.
That game wasn't a blowout. It almost was a blowout. It was a 17-point game in the fourth quarter, and then I think SMU storming back and making that a 3-point game or whatever it was. Well, they tied the game actually, and then Clemson hit a crazy field goal to win it. That
Right.
not only kept SMU in the playoffs and Alabama out, in my opinion, I think that also just kind of kept them with a slight edge over Clemson because maybe they thought if they played again the next day, SMU's the better team on paper. Um,
I think better. I can get behind better record.
Better record, and they were ranked way higher than Clemson was ranked. Like I think they're still ranked
Outside.
15 or 16 technically in the CFP rankings, but
Yeah.
according to the automatic bids, that's how they got put in. Like technically, Clemson
Right.
shouldn't be. If we weren't giving automatic bids to conference champions, they wouldn't be in. Um,
Correct.
I mean, I guess you could say that about a couple teams. I mean, Arizona State falls in that same category. Um, I think Boise would be in regardless, and Georgia probably still would be despite their record.
They would
And
be.
I mean, they played a gauntlet of a schedule, and then Oregon obviously is in. So a couple teams would be in, a couple teams would be out.
Right.
Um, but yeah, the point that I was trying to make, yeah, I mean SMU, I think they're all. I mean, they're trending upward. Well, I just want to pump the brakes on the hype there a little bit. I mean, this is completely out of the normal for them, and maybe it continues and they found the right coach and the right staff and the right NIL deals and everything's going to work out. But we'll have to wait and see. I just think Penn State at Happy Valley. I mean, they're also used to playing noon games there, so it's not like it's a abnormally to be like, oh, they're not playing a night game at home. This sucks for them. No, I mean,
Yeah.
this is what they do every week, and I think they'll
Right.
be ready. If not, I think James Franklin's probably getting fired. I don't think you can keep doing what he's doing in the big situations and just never winning them. Can't beat Ohio State. He has a problem doing that. Struggles against Michigan. You gotta, if you're James Franklin, you're coaching for your job this Saturday. So
Absolutely. Um, there may be another coach coaching for their job this Saturday that we can get into in a couple games, but I think that's a good segue into with us just talking about Clemson into the Clemson Texas game at 4 o'clock in Austin, Texas. Dabo versus Sarkisian. I mean, I like to think that Texas gets this done, but there's always going to be that little voice in my head that's like, Texas hasn't played anybody this year. What's going to happen? But then again, is Clemson that somebody? I don't know. I don't know if they are or not.
I think Clemson is that somebody in a sense that they've been here before, been there, done that. That's why I picked them to win the ACC championship, and that's why I think they won the ACC championship. Experience goes a long way. Only thing is I just know that Texas is feeling like their backs are against the wall, and that quote unquote championship window, if you want to call it in the NFL, kind of like that. I would say it's. I don't want to say it's closing because I mean
No.
they're set up for success going forward, but your championship window with Quinn Ewers as your prodigy quarterback that you've been waiting for since Colt McCoy and Vince Young is in theory out the door after this playoff run. So if you want it,
I got Arch.
I know you got Arch and that's going forward, but we don't. I mean, I think Arch is going to be a good quarterback, obviously, from what we've seen, little here, little there. But
I think they did a good job of playing him the amount they did this season. I
I
think that'll
mean,
help them.
yes. I mean, but Quinn, he's honestly struggled down the stretch a little bit this year. And all I'm trying to say is, if you're going to win it with him, you got to win it now. And
Yeah.
it seems like the last couple of years would be a little bit of a disappointment if they can't get past this first round, just solely for the fact of where they got last year and where they're going this year. I just think they desperately need this to happen, or else there's going to be two. If Clemson was to win at Texas, there's probably about two ways you look at it. One is Dabo might be back, Clemson might be back, like they never left, and Texas. where are they going as a program? Are all the pieces just going to be put on the table for Arch Manning? Because if that doesn't work out, what is going to work out? They
Right.
have the best quarterback room in the country, I believe, as far as top two guys. And I don't know. I think they're just probably a little too much for Clemson. And not to look ahead, but they would have Arizona State next. I think if Texas wins this game, they're beating Arizona State. So this is their biggest concern, I think, to get them to, what would that be, semifinals round would be what it is. Now that I say that, they can go out and lose to Arizona State next week or something crazy. And I mean, not to sleep on them. They got their talented running back and all that. But I don't know. I think what we're going to learn from this first round, the home playoff games, I think they're going to matter. Home field is going to matter unless you're not selling tickets to your home fans, which we'll get on here in a minute and talk about. But, yeah, I mean, as far as I think the favorites are going to probably win most of these games, but not the final one. So
Not this next one. Yeah. So that'll bring us to the final game of the week. You got Tennessee, our Volunteers, going into the shoe against Ohio State. Ohio State's currently favored by 7.5, and I think that's a bunch of baloney.
it was bigger. I've seen up to 8.5. I think when it first opened, it might have been closer to like 10. But
That's crazy.
I don't really understand that. Based off the way we played and based off the way they played, I understand them being favorites at home. They should be. I would think that I would personally like to believe that we'd be favorites at home. But based off of that line, we wouldn't be. We'd be like a couple point underdogs the way that they have that set up.
Exactly. I think we should be it should be 2.5 either way. Whoever's at home should get that 2.5 line.
And if we're being real, first part of this conversation is how much of a home playoff game is this for Ohio State? Vol Twitter has done some crazy things over the years, like not allowing Greg Schiano, who was from Ohio State, come be our head coach. We shut that down pretty fast in a 24-hour period. We've raised a lot of money for people in need, and this time around we are buying a lot of tickets. And Ohio State fans don't seem to be worried, but they probably should be, just based off the numbers that keep getting put out by these websites of who's buying tickets from where. And there's still so many thousands of tickets available online. And I would just like to believe that if this was a home game at Neyland, that there would not be thousands of available tickets. There'd be maybe a couple hundred of people just trying to, flip their tickets and make money. But I mean,
Right.
I'm going to speak for myself. I'm personally going to be in Columbus on Saturday. I cannot wait. I hope we're surrounded by Tennessee fans. That would be so much fun. I'm excited to see a different atmosphere, different campus, one outside of our conference, nonetheless. It's only the second time we've ever played Ohio State. First time being in '96 in the Citrus Bowl, I think is what it was, which was with Peyton, I think his freshman or sophomore year. We did win that game, so we are undefeated against Ohio State. Where do we begin with this? Well, we talked about it before. Just to reiterate, is running game and defense travels. You're going to need both of those heavily in this game. It's going to be cold. They act like we're not going to be ready for the cold. I don't know what they really mean by that because most of their players aren't even from the state of Ohio. Most teams recruit out of state nowadays and get transferred from California and Florida and all these warm states. So I don't know why they think it's such a huge advantage. They don't play most games in 20-degree weather. Their football season is normally done by now, so I don't know what they're pushing for on that front. I think we're going to see a heavy dose of Dylan Sampson. I really do. We have all year long. I think this game falls on the shoulders of our offensive line more than anybody else. I think our defense is going to bring it. I think Nico's going to continue to improve and play the way he's been playing. But the most important thing is we're healthy. We're finally healthy.
Right.
Everyone's rested up these last few weeks. I mean, in the Vanderbilt game, I mean, we were down like I think Brew, Thornton, and Squirrel at one point, and that's your top three receivers.
Yeah.
So getting those guys back, ready to go. Nico's having confidence. I just think this offensive line, we need one heck of a game out of them. Ohio State's defensive front is normally pretty good. That way, we don't want to get in situations where we're taking sacks and getting in third and forevers. That's not the type of offense we are. We like to live in third and manageable. I mean, who doesn't, for one? And two, that gives us the ability for the defense not to know if we're giving the ball to Sampson or if we're taking a shot deep. And as long as we can handle that, I think the rest will be okay. I don't know. What do you think about the game?
I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head. They say like, oh, we're not ready for the cold, but if you look at the two ways that each team plays, our style of play is more fit for the cold weather. The ground and pound. I mean, I don't even want to. We're not even a ground and pound team, but we have one of the top running backs in the country. So between him and our defense, which has time and time again this year just proved to be elite, I think that's gonna favor us on the road and in the cold, because running game and defense travels, like you said, and whenever it's cold and you don't want to throw the ball, you're gonna want to run the ball and control the clock. I mean, I don't think that we're necessarily like a shoe-in. Oh, there's no chance we lose this game. Like, Ohio State's a good team. I want to give them their credit, but I mean, they have probably one of, if not the best receiver in the country right now. I mean, Jeremiah Smith's great. Will Howard is a solid quarterback. I'm not going to say anything too much. They also have they have a good running back room too. They have Judkins and Henderson. I know that neither one of them really has crazy numbers this year, but that for a large part of that is that they were splitting carries with each other. I mean, both of those guys I think are probably going to be playing on Sundays here in a year or two. I think it's a good team and it's a good matchup, but I think at the end of the day, our style of play, and especially whenever you look at the two defenses, I think we can get it done.
I mean, a big issue for Ohio State is they don't play well when they try to do this whole rough and tough ground and pound.
Yeah.
We're the stronger team. That's what they attempted to do to Michigan last game. It did not work. The reason why they tried it is Ryan Day was trying to send a message that they're the more physical program, and the last few years have been kind of a fluke, and Harbaugh's gone, and we're going to make it happen. They played into the strengths of Michigan, and what did they do? They didn't score any points, and they lost. It was bad. If they try with that game plan against us, they're not going to win. I'm going to tell you right now.
You think Day's out if they lose?
I think it really depends on how they lose. If they were to lose, they lose in a close one, and it's a decently high scoring game. The offense puts up a amount of points, and Tennessee just plays a really, really good game. I don't see the point of firing him solely for the fact of who you're going to get that's going to be better right away. You don't want to, with how much money they spent on that roster, you don't want to just blow the whole thing up and rebuild. That's not what you're trying to do.
All the transfers that would happen, yeah, that's true.
But if I don't foresee this happening, but if Tennessee was to go in there and just smoke them, I think out of just hostility and anger and disappointment, I think they would just go and fire him solely so they don't have to hear it from the fans. They're already getting enough backlash from the fan base about Ryan Day. I can only imagine what a bad performance would be. I really do think this game is going to be won and lost up front for both teams. I think you can say that about most matchups, but when you have two just strong programs like you're seeing against right now in these two teams, Ohio State's offensive line is very banged up. I think they're going to be down, without their starting left tackle and center. I think their center, he won like the Center of the Year award, and he's not even going to be in this game. That's a huge, huge disadvantage. So if
Big
they
time.
can't sit back there and throw the ball to their skill positions without worrying about pressure and Tennessee's defensive front, which
Right.
Tennessee's defensive front is probably the best part of its entire team, I think is a fair thing to say, outside of the running back. So if we're able to truly give Ryan Howard issues, I think our secondary is good enough to tee off a couple times and jump a pass here and there and force a turnover.
That's what it's going to come down to. If when we do force those turnovers, our offense needs to capitalize on them.
We can't.
If
We can't get in a situation where we're kicking field goals after turnovers. That's not going to
Exactly.
win you this game. I mean, technically it could, but touchdowns. The way Tennessee has struggled under Heupel on the road, which we've discussed this year before, is it's a lack of points. That's what it comes down to. You finally got your defense needing to be where it's at, and now we still are putting up I think this year we put up. It was like 20 less points per game. It was something ridiculous at home versus on the road. So I don't know. We need a quick start. I don't think we can afford to have a start we did against Vanderbilt, where they scored 14 points in the first 5 minutes of the game. I think that they might run us out of the stadium if something crazy was to happen. But I mean, I think you put it best. We can't just sit here and guarantee a victory. That's not possible.
Exactly. It's a playoff game.
I mean, obviously, they are not a joke of a team or a program. They consistently are in these situations. We have not been of recent, so that's going to count for something. I wish this game was at home, but we just got to go in there, take care of business. And I think if we're talking about program trajectory of all these teams, ours is skyrocketing if this happens the way we want it to, because there's going to be zero questions about Josh Heupel if we win this game going forward. I don't think there is really any now, but I'm sure there's the delusional people out there that think he's not good. And that also is going to include a bunch of transfers probably coming in January. And because why would you not want to go play for a team that's competing for a national championship and they have the money to pay you? So why not? I mean, I don't know. I'm just super, super, super excited for this game.
Oh, it's going to be great. I think, just take it all with a grain of salt. We should be happy to be in the playoffs, first of all, and just go, and it's a chance to go and show the nation what we're made of. I mean, we've been talking about Ohio State, Tennessee, the Big Ten versus the SEC, all this forever. Now it's our time to go and prove it and put our money where our mouth is.
I mean, this is by far the biggest game of my lifetime, or our lifetimes, as far as impact. I mean, in 2007 or whatever, we played in the SEC championship game, but we were too young for one, and also it didn't really. It wouldn't have. This is a playoff game. You have a chance for a national. There's levels to this, and I don't know. These two fan bases have been at each other's throats over the years, and I just can't believe they're finally actually facing each other again. It's two historic programs, and I don't know. I would be disappointed if we lost this game, no matter what. If you're not a true fan. You're going to be disappointed,
right?
Depending on how it goes, will be if I'm angry or not.
Yeah.
But I mean, we should be happy that we're here. We haven't been here before, and I think we'll be back. But this would be so important for just Nico's development and so many things to just know that they can go win that game. Even if you win this game and go lose to Oregon the next week in the Rose Bowl, that's whatever. But
1 week at a time.
1 week at a time. Let's go beat the Buckeyes, and hopefully we can come back on the next episode super, super ecstatic and one game closer to a national championship. That'd be
Right.
a
Exactly.
wild thing to say.
Yes, sir.
On that
Well,
note,
that's all the games.
yeah, I'm going to show my screen for the parlay of the week just so we can clip that. So we parlayed the first round of the college football playoff games all into one, starting with Friday night. We believe that Notre Dame at home is going to be too much for their in-state competitor, Indiana. I think they win by at least a touchdown. Then at noon on Saturday, we have Penn State at home versus SMU. SMU might be able to score some points, keep it close, but we think Penn State's going to be the winners at the end of it. Then moving to the 4 o'clock slate, Texas at home versus Clemson. This one could be interesting, but we think Texas has their backs against the wall, and Quinn Ewers is going to have a big bounce-back game, and they're going to find a way to win. And then at night, the game of the week, College Game Day, Tennessee traveling to Ohio State. As Tennessee fans, we are beyond excited for this one, and we think that we are going to get this one on the road. And
Yes, sir.
even if we ended up losing, I think we still cover that 7.5 spread that it's at. I think we lose close, and that's the parlay of the first round of the playoffs. We'll probably just parlay every game for every round going forward just because we're running out of games.
Right.
There's, all these bowl games going on, but any meaningful bowl games are kind of the playoff games now. They're no longer like the New Year's Six is a part of the playoffs, so it doesn't really – everything else is kind of just seems so don't really care to watch it. There's a couple games I think Tulane and Florida play. That'd be kind of an interesting one to watch. A couple of explosive offenses.
Yeah, Tulane and Florida. I didn't see any other games from this week that I was like, oh, dang.
No, I know Bama's playing in the Real Quest Bowl, which is kind of funny. They're playing – I don't know who they're playing. But
I don't remember.
Yeah, so that is the college football playoffs. And then, ironically enough, I was looking that there's NFL games mixed in on Saturday. So there's a couple games going on while there's other games going on. So there's going to be a lot of football to watch. I personally don't know if I'm really going to tune into the NFL on Saturday. Well, for one, I'm in Columbus, so there's no way I would really care enough. I'm going to be a little bit preoccupied being there. But, I don't know, big Saturday coming up. The drive home from Columbus is either going to be like the longest 5 hours of my life or the shortest. I'm hoping we get away with the win, and the drive home is just a joyride for 5 hours. But,
right. Y'all are coming back that night?
No, that'd be really, really late.
Okay. I thought that's what you were saying.
No, we're going up there that morning and staying there that night. I don't think we'll be in any situation to be driving home after that game.
Probably not.
However, other things to kind of touch on real quick before we end the show is I guess we can talk about some coaching hires around the country and some transfers.
Let's do it.
Tennessee has lost, I think, now 5 guys in the portal from just the receiver position. We lost a linebacker. Trying to think who lost. So I think a corner or two, which I think one of them announced he's going to Vanderbilt, which is kind of funny. And then that's all about that. A lot of people are concerned that we're losing all these receivers in the portal. Personally, I'm not. I know a lot of people are concerned due to the fact that next year there's going to be some openings for new starters with Brew being gone, and I believe
that should be an easy Matthews fill.
Thornton, I think, is gone as well. But we have Brazel coming back, Squirrel's probably back, Mike Matthews coming back. There's a freshman that didn't play much this year that was just highly as recruited as Mike Matthews. His name is like Brandon Staley, one of the guys. He's supposed to be a stud. Not to mention the freshman coming in. Not to mention, I'm sure we'll go get some transfer. I think Heupel is approaching the wide receiver position group the same way last season we kind of took care of the DBs. I think we're kind of cleaning house a little bit, and I think Heupel now knows where this program is and where it's going, and we can now afford to be like, hey, you bunch of guys, we just have been bringing in higher quality talent and and we wish you the nothing but the best, but out of respect, you're probably not going to get a lot of playing time next year. So if you're going to transfer, just do it, because why not? What's the point of
Right.
in today's game? Unfortunately, there's no point of sitting around on the bench. Go get paid, go play elsewhere, go try to make the NFL, or else there's no point of you staying here. And
Very true.
everybody panicked last offseason with, why is all of our corners gone? Who's coming in? And then what did we do? We went out and we got Jamal McCoy from Oregon State, who's now looking to be an All-American player. You went out and you got the freshman Boot Carter. You got I'm trying to draw a blank.
That's the matchup to watch, by the way. I didn't hit on that when we were talking about our game, but McCoy versus Jeremiah Smith, keep an eye on those two. I'm expecting fireworks all day long.
Oh, that's an NFL matchup.
Yeah.
I'm drawing blank who our other corner is.
Gibson?
Oh, yeah, Ricky Gibson. And I believe he was just a young player on our roster and then developed, which is what you would expect from the Mike Matthews in the wide receiver room type thing. And
right.
You went out and you got Jacoby Thomas, a safety. And then Turrentine was already there. So, I mean, we're going to be fine. It sounds like chaos when you see another guy in the portal. But when they have a combined like 400 yards in their career, that's not like a huge concern. I mean,
right, exactly.
And then just to talk about coaches around the country, there's been a lot of movement. Obviously, Bill Belichick to North Carolina was a big one. West Virginia hired their coach that used to be there in 2007, who then left them in the middle of the night to go to Michigan. He did the Lane Kiffin. They hired him back after all these years, which is kind of funny. And he'll probably have them being good again. He was there when like Pat White was there as their quarterback, and then Holgerson took over, and that's when they had like McAfee and Tavon Austin and Geno and all that. But so I'm interested to see with that. The Marshall coach who won them the conference switched
to the worst team in the conference
because they refused to pay him and give him an extension. So that kind of sucks. And now Marshall, I think there's like 40 players in the portal or something crazy like that, and
they're all going to.
They're probably all going to Southern Miss, and
yeah,
Southern Miss will probably be an absolute wagon next year because. I mean, it's in the same conference, so what's stopping them from winning? That might be a nice little futures bet, is the bet Southern Miss to win the American next year, or Sun Belt, sorry. And I'm trying to think of other coaching changes.
Mike Vick.
Yeah, Mike Vick is going to be a college head coach at Norfolk State.
Yep.
Good for him. I think, is that FCS?
I think so.
I don't know if they're Division II or FCS, but either way, that's pretty cool. You're starting to see a lot of former players kind of get into the coaching realm. Wouldn't I be shocked if like Teddy Bridgewater started getting a college coach eventually? Cool. I know he coaches high school, and they just won like their state championship or whatever. So maybe he in the future will be doing it. I feel like there's some notable stuff. They kind of announced today that the eligibility rules of JUCO players is a little bit different. So Diego Pavia got cleared to come back to Vandy next year, which I know some people were kind of unhappy about that because now we're going to be having like super old dudes in college football, already worse than we already are. What else is going on, Jamie? I'm drawing blank.
I mean, I've only had my eyes on the playoff all week long.
I know. It's been like the longest 2 weeks.
Yeah, big time. I mean, a lot of stuff's going to start shaking up once the playoffs are done. You'll probably see more and more. There'll probably be some big transfer names like during while the playoffs are going on once bowls get done. But we're just going to have to sit back and see. I'm excited.
We can talk a little college basketball here real quick before we're getting on.
Let's do it.
So another good Tennessee sports team is number one in the country. That's the basket Vols, as you want to call them. And what are they now? Are they 11-0?
11-0.
Yeah. With some notable.
Completely outclassed. Was it Western Carolina?
Yeah, we smoked them the other night. But
Yeah.
more importantly, I think we're 4-0 against the ACC. The closest margin of victory on that one was, I think, 13 points. That's pretty notable.
Yeah.
We had that
That's
amazing buzzer beater win at Illinois last weekend. Jordan Gainey had a great game. I think to touch on the most about this team is I think their depth is tremendous. You had just about everybody on foul trouble against Illinois, and what do you know? Jordan Gainey comes off the bench and has 23. Like that's
right.
That's good for most starters in college basketball. Like really good, actually. If you get 23 out of someone, that's your go-to guy, and
right.
I think that's a testament of this program, and everyone seems to be very, very bought into Rick Barnes when they come here. Not a ton of transfers in it, like leaving this place. I mean, you have a couple here or there, but I mean, Jordan Gainey is a guy who came in last year, and he hasn't really started in 2 years, but he's still playing his role, doing his thing. And I mean, I think his dad used to coach under Rick Barnes or with him, so I think that was part of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I mean, Chaz Lanier is an absolute dog. We got him from North Florida, and feels like we found another Dalton Connect pretty much, as we really replaced that points per game instantly, which was impressive.
Replaced points per game. Different kind of player, though.
He is.
Lanier's just a shooter.
I'd argue he's actually a better fit for our situation that we're in than Connect, which is crazy to say just because Connect was so good. He's a little bit better defender. And what we were able to do is we were able to bring in Igor and then have bring in Akpara to be our big man. So we have a more traditional 1 through 5 than we have in years past.
Right.
And this is allowing Ziegler to he hasn't been shooting well of late, but he is basically playing the Chris Paul role is what we kind of call it, is go out there and get his 10 assists, and we're probably winning the game. That's going to be –
He was one short last game.
Of a triple-double, which is crazy.
Yeah, one assist short of a triple-double.
He had 10 rebounds in the first half of that game, which is –
That's nuts.
Outstanding.
5'8".
For, a tiny point guard. I don't know how he pulled that one off. I mean, we weren't playing the best team in the country, but there's the SEC is very deep, so we have a lot in front of us.
They are. Yeah, looking forward. This next week these next 2 weeks, I guess, we have Middle Tennessee State, and then speak of the devil, Norfolk State is our last non-conference game. That's on New Year's Eve. And then after that, we have like 5 days off, and then we go straight into SEC play, open up with Coach Cal coming to town. Coach Cal and Jonas Adu, who played for us last year, coming to town against Arkansas, number 1. And then after that, we play the number 7 team in the country on the road against Florida.
Yeah, we get Florida twice this year. I saw the second time around when we play Florida at home, our stretch is like at Auburn, home versus Kentucky, and then home versus Florida. That's a stretch. That is the SEC is going to be an absolute gauntlet. Do I think we're going to go undefeated? No, it's basketball. We're going to lose a game. Right. It's going to happen. I just hope that we fare the best against all these SEC teams and only drop a couple, and we can find ourselves in a number 1 seed. That'd be pretty awesome. We haven't done that. We haven't done that in program history this far. I think we're equipped to do it. We have been battled with the injury bug just like a little bit, which kind of sucks. With JP Estrella being our backup big out for the year, which means basically from time to time we run a little bit more small ball, which isn't the end of the world.
Cade Phillips stepped right into that role. And He's
Uh,
playing really well.
I don't know. I forget how tall he is. He's like 6'7" or 6'8", somewhere in there. But
Cade Phillips is I thought he was like 6'10".
is he 6'10"? Is he that tall?
6'9".
Okay.
So
Well,
between what we both said.
he jumps out the
Yeah,
gym.
he
He's
does.
he's our lob guy, and it's crazy
Yeah.
the connection that him and Ziegler have on these little backdoor lobs on when he drives.
Seems like he catches one every game.
Oh yeah, I know, literally. And he's another guy where he might some games he'll come in. Next thing you know, he's a spark plug, and he's going to come in and get you like 10 points, and they're going to come in bunches. And
Right.
that's an amazing thing to have come off your bench. If you can have someone come
It
in,
is.
the offense is looking a little flat. He's going to come in, bring the energy, and then come right back out. That's all you need from the guy. No one's asking him to be a 20 points per game guy. No one's like that's not what we
Right.
need out of him. And
No.
he stepped up. I mean, he was decently high recruited. I think I remember when we recruited him a couple years back. And, I mean, he's trusted the system. He's trusted the Barnes system. He's playing well.
Couple
Meshack
things.
playing good defense. I mean, the Barnes defense is here. It's still here. And
Oh
now
yeah.
we're scoring at a higher rate. So,
And that's what I was going to hit on is anyone who's saying that we're peaking too early or we're playing too good, we're playing our best ball right now. I think that's true for your teams like Bama and other teams like that who really shoot the ball a lot. And if they were going on a tear right now, you could say, oh, they're peaking too early. Like, because shooting is something that can come in waves of being on and being off. Whenever you play the defense that we play and the style of offense that we play, I feel like that's something that is going to stay more or less consistent throughout the year, especially on the defensive side of things. Like, we're not going to all of a sudden have a bad defensive night. I feel like that doesn't happen as much as the really 3-point heavy teams. I will say the only thing that has worried me so far, and it kind of like reared its ugly head against the Illinois game, and I heard the announcers kind of hit on it a little bit against Western Carolina, was just our free throws. We haven't shot the best from the charity stripe, and that is something that can decide games later down the season. So hopefully we can get that improved.
if I remember correctly, I think we kind of struggled against it last year at the free throw line as well.
Yeah.
It's kind of frustrating from time to time.
I think Connect was kind of
Yeah.
iffy.
And that's what would frustrate you is like, dude just shot a 3 over 4 people running to the sideline from 35 feet deep, and then he sometimes can't hit a free throw. And you're like, what is going on? I honestly, the only excuse I can come up with is like, we do play insanely physical and tiring defense for the entire game. So maybe,
Right.
I mean, that means you would blame it on conditioning, but our guys aren't tired, but maybe when it comes to just like when you're stopping for a second at the free throw line, maybe we're just not fully dialed in. I don't know what the deal is. One thing I will like to note, based on what you said, we do shoot the 3-point ball a lot, but like you said, we can afford it because there's nights where we don't shoot the 3 ball that well, but we still win by 20 points because we hold teams to like 40 or 50 points. And then all of a sudden we decide, hey, let's just go attack the rim, which we're capable of doing.
Right.
We got good guys on the inside. We crash the glass, and Akpara has been awesome with that. He's just like your classic. We don't really see it in the NBA anymore, but he's your classic just rim protector, like inside of the paint guy. Where earlier I think he was averaging like almost 3 blocks a game or something crazy like that, and a lot of rebounds, which kind of has phased out in the game of basketball because they expect 1 through 5 to be lights out from the 3-point line nowadays.
Right.
But as far as college basketball goes, he's perfect. We have a good system going. I'm excited for conference play. Barring any horrible things, there's no way we should lose before conference play starts over the next 2 games, 3 games, whatever it is. And I'm excited for that Arkansas game. It's at home.
Too.
It's correct.
Yeah. Cal's coming to town.
Cal's coming back. Adu, yeah, I was going to touch on him. I think last time I checked, he's averaging like 5 minutes a game or something like that. Nothing. I don't know why in the world he transferred out to go sit the bench over there. I don't understand that one bit.
I don't know. I like Akpara more.
I do, but that would have been a nice little duo, you know,
Yeah, no kidding.
because Aju's offensive game was starting to get going later that last
Yeah,
year, and he did get pushed around a little bit in the paint, which kind of got frustrating, and you could really see it against a Zach Edey type player. And
who
now,
didn't get pushed around by him though?
you could argue Estrella when he came in, he actually played pretty darn good minutes
Right.
against him because
I guess clinging.
Adu and Tobe Awaka both struggled against him. If Awaka was a little
Yeah.
bit taller, he probably would have been okay just because of his muscle. But Adu was tall and skinny, and then they get in foul trouble. I remember that game, and we threw Estrella in there, and all of a sudden it's like you would limit him a little bit. He was tall, a little bit stronger and athletic, and
Yeah.
I would love to see Okpara versus Edie. That'd be like two guys clashing in the paint, but. There was no stopping Zach Edey last year in the referees with him. It was impossible. There was zero chance of us winning that game.
Right.
I really do think this team is poised to make a Final Four run. I do. I think we have everything we've been missing over the years, and it's finally all together on one team. We have great team chemistry, good offense, good defense. We can shoot the ball. We can defend all 5 positions. There's not really a weak spot, and I don't know. I'm excited. I really want Rick Barnes to get one I wanted him to get a ring so bad. I really do.
He deserves it.
Like he's done so much for the. I think he's just now moved up to number 12 all time in wins
And wins.
as a Division I coach. That's
crazy.
very impressive record. And I think does he have one Final Four or no Final Fours? I think does he have one with KD?
I think so.
He might have went once with KD and lost. Or the whole narrative might be that they didn't even make it with him, and that was why Kentucky fans love to bring up Final Fours, and I just normally ignore it.
Yeah, he has one Final Four in
Okay.
'03, so that would have been. I think would have been
That
KD.
that is KD's year. So God, even just getting back to a Final Four would be awesome. For a school that doesn't consider itself to be a basketball school, we have a pretty darn good basketball team and program. So
We do.
this is year 10 of Rick Barnes, which is kind of crazy to think about. It's flown by. I don't know. And then the Lady Vols, on the other hand, they're undefeated and they keep winning.
Golly,
Yeah,
they're crazy. They just broke the record for threes in a game in like basketball, like not women's basketball, not women's college, like most threes in a game, college, NBA, college men's, everything.
30,
30
right?
threes in one game. That's 90 points.
Yeah, they put up like 139. They won like 139 to like 60 something. I was like, God
That's nuts.
almighty. And I saw that they were struggling yesterday at Memphis, and then they pulled away, ended up winning by 15. And Coach Caldwell was sitting there on the bench, like chewing out the players when they were up by like 10 points with like 4 minutes to go. Like she brings the intensity. She does.
It
And
does.
I'm really, really excited for what she does there. I mean, she's got them playing outstanding basketball right now.
They're averaging 16 steals a game still. That's nuts.
That
16 steals and 4 blocks. You're averaging 20 forced turnovers a game.
How many points per game are they averaging?
97. Almost 100 points in girls basketball.
That is nuts. That is nuts.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, obviously things will slow down a little bit once you get to conference play, but they've been tested a little bit early. They've played some good quality teams. I mean, same with the boys. The boys and girls have both played a couple ranked opponents and have been tested. Both of them undefeated. Only school to have that, so that's awesome. Good time to be a Tennessee Volunteer. That's all I gotta say.
It's a great time.
And we're not even in baseball season yet, and don't even get me started on those boys over there. They're reloading for another good year, and that's a good thing for us because that means we can do this year round and not just have to talk about football year round.
Exactly.
I guess our plan for this show, whenever football season ends, is to kind of just really get deep into this whole basketball world, and I think college basketball is at its all-time high right now as far as just quality teams, and same way football is with the transfer portal. I think it's kind of balanced things out. We don't just have Duke and Kentucky and Kansas just controlling everything anymore. It's kind of a wide open field, and I'm excited. I guess we'll just wrap up today's episode by saying is let's go beat the Buckeyes, and we'll see
Yeah,
y'all
invade the
next
shoe.
week. So make sure to follow us on all of our media platforms on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Spotify, and X or Twitter. And we will see y'all next week, hopefully after a Volunteer victory, and get ready for the Rose Bowl.